This interview number 4, we are here with, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Lucy-Jade Norris.
Lucy-Jade Norris, are you an artist?
Yes, I am very much an artist.
How so are you an artist?
How so?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been anything other than an artist. Throughout my whole life, I have started off as a dancer, went to dance classes, after the dance classes, then I went to acting school. I've always been involved in entertainment, and I feel now I can call myself an artist. That's how I actually make my money. That's how I live. That's what I do every day, and it's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. All right. So Ben Hauck is interviewing right now. We actually just did something. We are on. Where are we? Where are we, by the way? We are. There's a big building over there. There's a table. Where are we?
We are on my rooftop. I know, Ben.
What did we just do, though?
What did we just do? Well, we just did. I'm sorry. I have to get your eyes because I'm so used to hosting where I'm looking directly at a camera that I actually get to.
Oh yeah, look at my eyes. Cool. I'm gonna look all over at your Diet Coke.
So what we just did is we did On Deck with Lucy, which is my web series that I've just started working on, and I was interviewing you and getting to know all about you, your work as an author, as a performer.
Yeah. That's not about me. So
I know, but it's hard now because I'm so used to interviewing other people. All right, it's about me.
That's so far. So that's what I want to get to talk about. So, is part of your artistry interviewing people?
Yeah, I would say now I've segued. As I still act, I still go to the acting auditions, but I'm very passionate about, and what I really feel as though I'm in my element is when I'm hosting, when I'm interviewing people.
Hosting, interviewing, hosting, not like hosting at restaurants, not like that.
No, I have to confirm that. It's hosting, interviewing people, hosting shows, whether it's live hosting. This is what I'm doing predominantly over all of the other different sort of areas of my entertainment. So that's why it's hard, is because I'm typically used to asking other people the questions and being in control, and now I feel like I don't know what you're gonna ask me.
Oh, that's fine. I said I'm not gonna try to embarrass you or spring anything on you, so no worries. So, all right. So, are you self-taught when it comes to hosting, or I mean, did you take classes in it, or interviewing, or what?
I remember from a very young age. I think I was about 10, and there was this old guy on TV called Michael Parkinson.
Michael Parkinson?
And he's this incredible interviewer. He used to have these incredible guests on there. Helen Mirren, all of these famous people.
Where was this television
This is back
show?
in England, but
okay.
he always did these interviews where he would get the celebrity or the actor in a different zone that you've never seen them in before. Like, he'd ask those questions that make your response so different and unique. Anyway, so I used to watch him and I was like, I want to do what he does. I want to interview people. And then I was always looking at hosts that were on TV back in, we call them presenters in England.
Oh, you call them presenters, okay.
Went to one sort of like presenting course when I was 17, but then just never really thought this is a way to, you know, be successful, and that's why I decided to focus more on the acting, and I'm glad I did. I learned a lot. I'm able to say that I think I know my craft and I enjoy what I do in the acting field, but hosting, I just find that I'm in my element.
So did something change your mind that you now believe that you can do this? I mean,
yeah, I was hosting a show back in England called Fame TV, which was
you were? Okay.
it's like a Sky channel, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work. It was live. I was developing my own segments. Did that, got a great deal of experience from it. But then I think what changed my mind was the fact that I started to understand who I was as a person and what I was able to deliver as a host. So I don't know if you've heard this as an actor, you know, sometimes they say it's better to be older when you go to acting school. Like, don't go straight away, get life experience.
Yeah.
Because as an actor, you're then able to use that in your characters. I think as a host, you're not hiding behind a character, you're yourself. So I had to know who I was, you know, what I'm able to give to an interview. So I think as I've matured and met so many amazing people, like throughout my travels, that's what is incorporated into me as a host.
Your travels, then
I think the fact that I have been able to travel, I've met so many different people. I've been very independent. Like at 16, I moved out on my own. I went down to London, not knowing anyone. I got very lost on that drive down there. But it was just like the independence, the travels. I met so many people. I've been very lucky that I've then been able to hear different stories. And that, I think, think helps with the hosting as well, is being able to listen to what someone has to get, a stranger has to tell you.
Does it help you understand where more and more people come from? More, the people. I mean, I could go for myself. Like when you were interviewing me, I mean, do you feel like you're saying like, oh, I know who this person is a little bit better than he knows himself, or when you're interviewing a person because of your life experience, you just understand people better or more, or how does it really work? How, if you were telling someone, here's a question for you. If you were teaching someone how to host or interview, who didn't have a lot of life experience, and you told them go off and get some life experience, how would they know that they have enough, so to speak? Does that make a little sense?
No, it does make sense. I think that when they're at that point where they've experienced different scenarios, different events for themselves. I'm not saying experience everything, but have an idea of where other people are coming from.
Right.
Which could come from traveling, which could come from you doing, going to a new city. Once you understand that everyone is coming from a different point of view, but at least accept that, then I think that you're able to implement that into the interviews. Because sometimes I don't agree with a lot of things that people say, especially on my radio shows when I'm interviewing. Sometimes we have to talk about politics, sometimes we'll be talking about fashion. Sometimes I don't agree, but when I'm hosting, it's never about me and it's never about my opinion, so I can only go so far with that, which is tricky at times.
Now, why is that the case? Why is it never about you? I imagine there are some interviewers who there could be a balance. That it's a little bit about the guest, but it's a little bit about the host.
I think it depends what show it is and who you, as a host, who you're working for as well. I think that's the same like as an act or whatever art you're doing. It's kind of like we'd all love it to be about us at one part, but at the same time it depends on what job you're doing. So for instance, my radio shows, because of the people and the show that I do, it can never be about me. It's for highlighting their profession. My web series, On Deck with Lucy, I'd like to think that's a little bit about me because it's my name on there.
Yeah.
So I try to be able to bring some of my experience, and I'm also getting people that I'm interested in talking to.
Yeah, okay, so with On Deck with Lucy, this project, and it's a new project for you that's coming out in October of 2012, is that right? Okay, so you get to choose your guests. I guess in some of your prior work, if I understand correctly, a lot of times you're just given a guest and you might not know anything about the person, is that right? With this project, you get to choose whom you want to interview, at least for the most part, it sounds like. Why do you choose the ones you choose? I mean, is it just right now, I know people, so let's get them aboard, or is there some common strain?
I'm trying to keep it down to three sort of subjects, which is talent, taste, and trends of New York. So I'm trying to fit, if it is people who I know, which I think is great, if you can get friends aboard who are in the same sort of industry as you and they can support each other on these projects, it kind of keeps you alive, keeps your creativity alive. So it's been great that, I've worked with you and I wanted to get you on board, and another friend, fashion representative, I did a show with her, so I got her on board. But there are people who I'm reaching out to that it's hard. Like, I want to get to Food and Wine event and I want to cover their stuff, and I went to the HBO Film Festival, covered the red carpet, but I had to reach out to those people. I knew no one there, so it's networking. But I'm choosing these subjects because I live in New York. I think it's the best city in the world.
You do?
Yes.
What is it about New York, by the way, without getting segued too far? I mean, you lived in...
I lived in London, I lived in Cyprus, I've travelled all over Europe, I've been to Japan, travelled a lot around America.
What about New York? What is it about New York?
I think it's the fact that if you can make it in New York, I truly believe you can make it anywhere, because people are very, well, they can be very direct and they can be very straight to the point. But if you can accept their criticisms, if you can accept what they're trying to give you and take away what's actually going to help you in your career, I think that it really is. And I don't know, now you've asked me the first time I moved, I know we're going to segue. The first time I moved to New York, absolutely moved it. Came here to visit when I was 21. Hated it because everyone was so rude to me. I was like, oh my god, I hate this. And then I got the opportunity to come and study here. I was like, all right, we'll see how it goes. But now I love it. I think it's the people, it's the culture, the fact that there are so many different cultures, and I just feel like it's my home. But I miss my family, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm forgetting what we were talking about just before that, even though we didn't want to segue from it.
Trends, tastes. Oh yes. On Deck with Lucy.
Yeah.
About why I choose those.
Yeah.
Just because the stuff that I'm passionate about, the trends, and I think that, you know, it's constantly changing in New York, whether it's the food field or the fashion industry or the talent as well. And I want to give people a chance to showcase themselves.
I don't really want to put you too much on the spot when it comes to like a dream guest, or if you don't want to say who it is. But let's say you do have a, I mean, you don't need to tell me who it is, but do you happen to have a dream guest or someone like, ooh, that's a person I really love to interview?
There's a few.
Okay, so how would you can talk in rough swipes, I guess, if you want to right now. How does one get a hold of these people to talk? Is that part of the adventure, or is there an art to that?
Yeah. I think, and we mentioned it earlier, we were speaking, it's a lot about, it's about networking. We're not in that era now where you can just send off an email and a reel and hope that they're going to love it and get back to you. I mean, yeah, do that, but that's not necessarily going to help you. I think that you just have to be original, different with your approaches. Know that, have a positive attitude. Know that people do want to help. Like, they want to help. When I reached out to HBO and I thought, I don't know anyone there, I don't think they're going to let me cover the red carpet, but they did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was like, yay! But I was so nervous because they had celebrities on the carpet that I had to interview. But it was like, oh my god, I'm actually one step into the hosting thing. Like, I had lists of what I wanted to achieve in this year, and the red carpet event was one of them. I could go, yes,
wow.
All right, now the next one. And my dream, I'll talk about dream guests later, but my dream as a host, I'd love to host something like the Oscars.
Host.
I don't even want to win an Oscar.
The main host. So not just interviews on the red carpet. You want to be.
I want to host the Oscars one day.
That is quite a mighty goal. Do you have any sense of how? What motivate? I mean, how do you work? So as an artist, we're focusing on the interviewing and the hosting right now. Are you motivated by goals? Do you set goals, and does that help teach you, or you just kind of amorphously go about life?
I think a year ago I was more like, so I can do acting here and I can do this and I can do that. If you're not focused on a particular area, it's really hard to actually accomplish anything because then you're so all over the place. However, you want to put some eggs in all different baskets, right? So my typical, if I'm approaching my work like on a daily routine, you know, I host the radio shows. I'm fortunate I can host those from home. So I'm constantly in front of my laptop, able to network, research. I make sure I'm working every day on my web show, on my acting career. I'm still submitting, I'm still auditioning, I'm still going to castings, and then doing the hosting as well. So I think you can't let something go until... I can't just say, oh, I'm not going to audition anymore as an actress, because I know I can still get those jobs and I can still do that because that's what I went to school for and that's what I'm skilled at doing as well as being, you know, an actress as well as a host.
Is it okay to take a day off? I mean, from that kind of work? I ask mostly because of myself. I kind of know what the feeling like. You feel like you have to work every day on something. I don't necessarily know when. Like, I
think that's probably what you're gonna like. I completely agree with you, and I think that's what actors find it very hard to do.
What do you completely agree with me?
That it's hard to not take a day off. Like, I think if you're I don't want to say if you're a true artist. I will say, if you're a true artist, you're completely passionate about what you do. And sometimes because you're that passionate, it doesn't feel like work. And that can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge because you will just keep doing it and doing it. But yet you have to make time for other things, I'm sure, like friends and family.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I have the next 2 days supposedly off. But I know I'm going to be
What does that mean?
Working. It means that, actually, no, I have today, today is a day off.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow a day off. Means that I'll be going to the gym and I'll be submitting and I'll be working on my web. Like that.
So you don't have any specific obligations.
Right.
So you get to work on yourself.
Exactly.
Which is so integrated with your art and your creation, right?
I think artists probably as well find it hard. I don't know, dependent if they're not in a field. Everyone has to make money. If they're making money and it's not a field that within the art industry, that must be hard as well because they have to obviously allocate time to work and then also allocate time for themselves. So that would be hard to do both.
I can identify with that. You we've been talking about interviewing. You've hinted a little with this radio show. I'm curious about the radio show. I missed that if you were talking about the details of that at the beginning. What is this about the radio show? I don't think I've heard it.
It's Ashford Radio, and what it is
Is this part of your artistry, or is this something more like a job, or does it somehow fit into your work?
Well, I think I'm fortunate to say that it is my job, but it's a form of, like, I'm the radio host, so...
is there an art to that kind of work?
Yeah, it's definitely helped me with being a host as well, listening, which is good for acting. As an actress, you need to be able to listen and respond. As a radio host, they don't see my facial expressions, which is sometimes good. Because I've started to realise that my face says a lot. But it forces me to listen, and I'm also, like, last week I had to interview a guy about politics, and I know nothing about politics. So, it helps me understand different areas of life and helps me with hosting.
Okay, actually, let's go back to interviewing then. It's a kind of an interesting art question, I feel like. So let's say you are interviewing someone, let's say about politics or something that you just don't really know anything about. Maybe or maybe you don't have an interest in what they're having to say. How do you get through that? Like, how do you just budget as you go along, or is there a certain kind of skill to that?
I've learned over...
First of all, has it happened to you very much?
I had a really, really tough interview. Probably the toughest interview yet. So I'll tell you about the tough interview on camera, I won't obviously give names, and a tough interview on radio. On radio, one thing is that they can't see your face, so you don't feel like you have that pressure. But if I didn't know anything about what we were talking about, I didn't have time to prep with the guests beforehand because they phoned in late.
Yeah.
So that also put me in bad shape because typically I can go over it. And what I thought we were going to talk about was not what we were talking about.
Wow.
So
and this is live.
And it's live. And I try, if I'm in that situation, I stick to general questions. But he didn't want to talk about general questions. He wanted specifics. And as you do that, Ben, I'm going to cough. There we go. Oh, now it's all nice and clear. Normally I can mute my button if I was on radio. I'd go mute. But yeah, so it was just very tough, and he wasn't giving me any leeway. That's another thing. If you've got chemistry with a guest, you can normally get...
He didn't help you out.
Did not help me out. So that was tough. I just pray and hope that it ends early. But I got through it, which is good. One main important thing I know as a host is prep and research is vital. Like,
vital.
If you don't, and I think that's the same in any art, you've got to prep for, whether it's a painting, you need to prep your canvas. As an actor, you need to prep for your character. As a host, you need to prep for the people. Preparation is key, and I think it's also key to success. And then with the person on camera, it's just a lot harder because they can see if I'm not interested. So I just try and smile a lot.
So am I getting a sense that there's still, that's one thing that you want to learn as an artist? You want to learn how to better
fake it.
In a way, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Faking it might be what's going on, but maybe there's something else you have to do in such a case. I don't know. I don't know, maybe you say point blank to these people. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're going to have to help me out a little bit here.
I think that's going to happen as I keep going down the hosting field. I also think that I'm going to be able to control even more of the interview without them feeling like that, like feeling as though they're I think that's just going to come from experience, and I'd like eventually for my interviews to be like, and more like easygoing conversations, because I think that's when people feel comfortable and they're able to give you something that the viewers may not have seen before.
In the interview I did with you today, I noticed how comfortable you were.
Really?
Yeah.
Shucks. Thanks.
And so I get the sense it's a progression when we get to that point, yeah.
I think so. I think it's progression. It's about feeling comfortable with the subject that we're talking about. Like, we'd spoken before and I knew what we were going to talk about. Sometimes, though, if I haven't, say for instance...
Your helicopter.
It's pretty cool.
Is that it? Is that the only helicopter?
Did you get the Brooklyn Bridge? Did you get the
Brooklyn Bridge? Yeah, I think right there. Show off.
I don't mean to be. It's just nice.
Just kidding.
It's nice to have this. That's why I love New York.
I
forgot.
Oh. One question that I have is, so what are some of your inspirations? You talked about Michael Parkinson, is that how you say the name? I just think of the disease. Michael Parkinson sounds like he was a big inspiration for him because somehow he was able to really either ask the good questions or really get good stuff out of the people. Who were some other inspirations, whether it be for interviewing or really just your life and your art?
I think my main role model who I've loved for so long, you've probably heard it from many girls, is Marilyn Monroe. Absolutely adored her. But other people...
what is it about, are you just going to segue into other people? Well, what is it about Marilyn Monroe that is inspirational?
I just found that she was,
as a performer or a person, or just...
I think she was inspirational because she sold a good image of herself. Or I don't know if she sold a good image, but she sold herself. And I think that's important as an artist as well. You can be a good artist, but you need to be able to sell yourself and make sure that you're seen in a right way, or your image. And her image was perfect, and she sold it in a really good way.
And you really took to that?
Yeah.
At a young age, or just as a more mature artist, or?
No, I mean that's a young age. I've just always adored her.
I imagine you weren't thinking about her in that way at the time. You were just taken by her somewhere.
I was just like, she's so beautiful, and I love the image, and it was just like the whole 50s era as well. I'm in love with. Like, so there's her, and there's the helicopter. Other inspirations, I think, I don't know. I know current people who I look up to. Juliana Rancic. She's on E. She's a TV host. But I think
she's on what?
E? I think she's great.
There's something about how she hosts that you really appreciate?
I watched her shows and I've seen how she preps, how she researches, the work involved behind her role. Like
how are you privy to that information? Have you spoken to her, or
I watched her reality show.
Oh, so a reality show shows the behind the scenes work then. Oh, wow, and so you're able to study that too.
Yes, and it was good that you see her in the office prepping, researching all the guests. So that was good. And when she's on the red carpet for the Oscars, for instance, the amount of information that she has, the prep, it's incredible.
In her mind too, right?
She has to remember everything, everyone's names, and
I've watched those red carpet. I'm astounded by the facial I imagine at times you can see a star and you have no idea who it is if you don't do the research, but if you do the research, it's like, oh! Yeah. I never thought about it, really, the research, I guess.
And she does it also. She's a good inspiration that I like. Actors, there's so many depending on what genre.
For inspiration? You mean, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what inspires me, who inspires me.
You might not have something to talk about. It was just more of a question to see if there were any, or anyone who kind of guides you. It seems like Marilyn Monroe guides a little bit in how you present yourself. Yeah. But for me, I have someone who guides my energy or what do I want to aspire to. Does anyone's performance approach seem to push you in a certain direction? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love how that person performs. I want to perform in that way too. This might be just a redundant question.
No, it isn't, but there's so many good, I actually don't think I've really thought about it hard enough to give you a good...
That's no worries, I was more just curious to see if there was something for that.
Now you got me thinking. How could I not answer a question, Ben?
Well, there could be little bits and pieces, I suppose, of people. There's something about this actor does. Or this, I don't know, news host or this interviewer.
There's Barbara Walters, who I think is very good.
What is it about Barbara Walters that makes you say her name here?
I think she's just I mean, she's experienced, she knows what she's doing, she's very confident, she's the sort of subjects that she has to cover, she is able to stand her ground, and sometimes that's what I found as a host, that when you, not sexist, but sometimes men in power, you have to really know what you're talking about, because it can be, you just don't want to let it look as though they're going to take more control. It has to be about...
Oh, so you as a woman, sometimes if you're interviewing a man, some men want to take control. Oh, I can speak from experience of interviewing someone, a celebrity. He suddenly just took over the conversation, and I just felt so helpless. So have you felt that, experienced that before?
And I feel like that's very patronizing, and it also makes you... And this is just like self... acknowledgement when that happens, and it has happened when the guy takes over.
Yeah,
and it's just,
it could be a woman, but you've had experience.
Yeah, and I've experienced from a man. But yeah, it could be a woman too. It's just very patronizing, and it makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about. Therefore, you're not good. You know.
So it's a good. Segues into a good question. How do you wrest control back? What's your experience so far? What do you know, or how would you handle those situations?
I just try and stick to everything that I've researched and go back and bring the conversation back to something that I do. You know, if it has segued onto something that's like far off, try and bring it back. Oh, okay, so let's talk about this book, diddle-a-da, and ask a question that we can bring it back to me.
Sounds like a really good book, diddle-a-da.
Diddle-a-da. I'm still thinking about who my inspiration is. Ben, you're my inspiration.
You're just saying that to say that. If you have reasons, I'd be happy to hear that, but I think you're just saying that.
You know what? I actually will say this. Energy-wise, now you're saying it, you are a good inspiration, and here's the answer to that question.
I'm actually an answer. Wow. Okay.
You are an inspiration, and I'd say you and many of my friends within the art world are people who inspire me, because I work with or I'm talking to them daily, and it's seeing their effort, their energy, their enjoyment, enthusiasm inspires me to want to be a better artist, to want to put better work out there. So I'd say that generally the close artists around me are good inspirations, and you are one of them.
Are you a pretty naturally energetic person?
I'd like to think so.
You like to think so?
I
okay.
wake out of bed.
You respond to other people's enthusiasm. It's not like you just get it from seeing other people how enthusiastic they are. You have a natural enthusiasm to yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm pretty, yeah.
So is acting still a part of you then, would you say? Are you still do you audition for things?
Yeah, I still audition for things, and
stage, screen, what's your focus?
My most recent one was an off-Broadway show that we were rehearsing called Love After. That I played the lead in, which was tough. Then there was, I just got picked for a TV pilot that's supposed to be filming in the fall, so I got that job. And then I just did a commercial last week as well for an online game that I can't say the name to. But
what was that?
I can't say the name to the game,
okay.
but it's going to be launched like soon. So yeah, I'm still auditioning, I'm still doing it. It's just, sometimes I think acting is a really, really hard profession.
So as a profession, it's the if it weren't a hard profession, do you think you'd still be pursuing it?
Yeah, let me think about the question. So tell me the question again.
So what you just told,
really
we segued a little bit into acting, you as an artist, as an actor, and you said that acting's a really hard profession. I asked you if it weren't a hard profession, would you be pursuing it with more, I don't know, more dedication or more focus?
I think the hard part about it for me is I want to feel like I'm accomplishing things, and great actors, they can make their own material, they can write their own material, they can do all of that, which is great, and still do the auditions. For me, I just found like I can still accomplish things in the acting world, but at the same time I feel like I'm accomplishing a lot more in the hosting. That's probably where my focus has kind of gone to. Because of that, it seems as though I'm accomplishing more in that at the moment, but I'm still auditioning. I don't know, it's just...
I love that response. It makes me wonder this question. How much does, as an artist, how much do you think an artist needs to have control over her art? Like, should an artist have control over art?
I think there's only so much that you can control, though. So, for instance, if you go to an audition, you can control the fact that are you prepped? Do you know what your sides are? Have you done your prep work for it? Do you know know who the casting director is going to be? Do you know enough about the subject? That's the sort of stuff that you can control. You can't control whether someone is next to you who looks exactly the same but is the daughter of the casting director's sister. You know what I mean? Like, you can't control those sort of things that may major into the fact that that person's going to get it over you just because of networking, or, you know, she has more credits. So that's probably the tough part about being an artist, is that it would be great if we could control it all, because I think as artists we like control sometimes, but there's so much of it you can't.
Well, I just do a comparison. It seemed like to me, the way I was interpreting your response is that acting, there's a lot you're out of control in some respects. There's a lot you can't control. But with this project that you're doing now, like On Deck with Lucy, the interviewing, you're like in an interview pose right now. With that, maybe you just like the name of your project.
Say it again,
with this,
Ben.
but On Deck with Lucy. You do like how I say it. I like to say On Deck with Lucy-Jade. But with interviewing, or at least this project that you're doing, it sounds like, comparatively speaking, you have more control over it. So that's why I was curious about your response.
Maybe you're
I mean, I think I agree with you that you can't have complete control over it. Even in your interview series, there's a little bit of stuff you can't control. You can't control what's coming out of the person's mouth. So, is your answer that it's great to have as much control as you can, or
maybe now that you say that, I think with hosting that I can have more control, just whether it's in my own projects, but also I don't have to be a different character. Like, I'm already. If I sell myself, I am the product, so I have to know what I'm selling, who I am, but I don't have to keep adapting to whatever character they might give. So maybe there's that, there's the form of, I can control that, I can control how I approach things. Yeah, I think there's more control. It just seems as though I can make a little bit more money from it at the moment, but I am still doing the auditions and the castings.
Is it more empowering than to having that kind of control?
Yeah.
I'm not getting the sense that you're a control freak.
I do like control.
You do like control. Are you? Would you describe yourself as a control freak?
Not until I moved to New York.
Oh, really? When you're around other people or something, you realize like, wow, I'm really controlling, or?
I just think that New York's given me this like independence and this fact that I'm also inspired by the business people in New York, because they're out to get the best, and I think that New York has just made me a tougher and more independent and more
assertive.
More assertive, yeah, which is probably kind of affected.
Do you like how you've become?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I have flaws, but
No, I meant in this kind of, like, you know, okay, some people think assertive people are mean, and they think that's an ugly trait.
I'm so not mean. I say that, like, I know we were talking earlier, but I think that I'm very fair. The only thing is, I don't like to be taken advantage of, but I think that my work ethic, my approach to work is that I'm professional, I'm fair. If you tell me to be there on time, if you tell me to prepare something, I'm going to do it, and I just expect the same back, and that's where it can be hard when you don't get the same back. Yeah.
Your name, as I know you, is Lucy-Jade Norris, Lucy-Jade Norris.
That is correct,
yes.
Ben Hauck.
What is there any story behind your name?
There is, would you like to hear
I
it?
would, actually.
So I'm named Lucy because, alright, it's a long one. The oldest female skeleton in the world is...
Skeleton? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oldest female skeleton in the world. Do you know what she's called?
Lucy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this happened because when they were putting the bones together, they heard on the radio, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Ah.
That's why she was called Lucy. Now my mom was just like, oh my god, the oldest female skeleton in the world is such a powerful symbol, let's name my baby after a skeleton. That's me, Lucy. So that's where Lucy came. And then I have like a jade speck in one eye. I don't know
jade
which one.
speck, is that a color?
Yeah, like a little speck. I don't know, you'll be able to see it in one of these. I think it's this one.
I think it's that one too.
So that's where jade came from.
Uh-huh.
Norris, I had no control, that's just the last day. But if I was a boy, I was going to be called Chuck Norris. I actually was, like, really?
And was that named after...
Chuck Norris, yeah.
Lucy-Jade Norris, thank you so much.
Thank you.